Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful day. This is Logan, your host of Auras of the Big Sky. Today, I'm sitting down with Arison from Wild Wisdom Collective. She's based out of Bozeman, Montana, and has a wonderful story to tell. Follow along for more. So I guess we'll kind of just start off with who you are, your business, and your background in starting this business.
Okay. Well, my name is Arison. Yay. Arison Antonucci Burns. And I'm originally from Maine, not from Montana, but I've been living here and went to Montana State University, just like your friend over there. A good many years ago. I graduated there in 2003. And I have been, I've had a real estate career almost ever since graduating and moving back from California. And then I started, doing real estate when I was 24.
Wow.
So I give you a little bit of basis because I went to school for community health education and then didn't do anything with that. And then I got into real estate. So I've owned and run a real estate company my own real estate company since 2016, but I was with Keller Williams since 2004 when I was a baby. I just got married. And so did that. So I give you that basis just to know, because all these other questions are how did you get to where you are?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a long, process, a circular kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, what was your original question? I'm sorry.
Just your background and how you got started at this business.
Okay, at this business. Okay. So how I got started is kind of a loaded question. It started, I would say, I've always kind of been in tune to the spiritual realm. When I say spiritual realm, I don't like to say ghosts, but we'll just go with that. I've always been in tune. My mom has kind of a gift growing up, and we always thought she was kind of weird, right? And then you realize, wow, I have a gift too, but you're kind of, taught to just sweep it under the rug. So I don't like the word ghost too, because it seems like ghost hunters or something weird, super weird, and it isn't super weird. So anyway, I knew from a long time ago that I had different abilities, and then really high intuition, like a lot of you having a lot of deja vus, right? That's kind of an early phase of a psychic's journey. Having a lot of deja vus. I've seen this before, and a lot of high intuition and so forth, and very empathic nature. And I didn't know what empathic was until in my late 30s. So anyway, so how I got into this, I was having really bad anxiety attacks, and I was running, I was top producer with real estate for a really long time within Keller Williams, training agents, growing my own business, had 3 assistants, and I was top in the Northwest, and the stress was really getting to me to hold the line. When you're already at the top, it's kind of like being a celebrity, right? I know it sounds super cheesy, but when everyone's looking at you, the eyes are on you. It's actually people you say, how's it feel to be at the top? And you're kind of lonely.
Yeah.
And the stress kind of gets to you, and you got to maintain this status quo, so to speak. So I started my own company called Aspire Realty. And then I started, with agents and so forth, and training them and helping them to grow and foster their businesses. And the stress was too much, and I had really bad anxiety attacks. And so that's what changed everything for me, was having those crazy anxiety attacks so bad that I wanted to jump off, my deck one night and just call it a day and be like, I'm done with this, right?
Yeah.
And then but what I didn't realize through all of that and those anxieties, well, number one is what anxiety is, right? And it's trying to control too much, mostly control, but also in conjunction with that is I used to feel everything. I used to feel other people's emotions. I didn't really realize. They just assumed I was the crazy one, right? But I could walk into a space and sense things. And I could hear things, I could see things, and I'm like, whoa, I just thought I was going batshit crazy. And so anyway, when I started to realize what an empath is, then you realize that just having a diagnosis, so to speak, of what you're experiencing, I started to dive into more of the wellness part of things.
Yeah.
I got on antidepressants, which was terrible, by the way. Awful. And wouldn't recommend that. Sleeping pills, all the things, because the doctor likes to tell you that that's normal. And if you're not on sleeping pills or doing some other kind of psychiatric drug, that you are not normal, right? So you just kind of go along with all the stuff. And then you really realize how much it shifts the person that you are.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went to Thailand, and Thailand is where I would say became the most transformational thing. I went on this trip where we did sound therapy with elephants. And there was a lady here, her name was Linda Chambers. She still lives there, and she used to own a store called Dari Rasa right down Main Street here. And I used to go in there, and I was like, oh, it's so beautiful and so nice, blah, 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 blah. And then realized my friend said, why don't we do this elephant trip to Thailand? And she does sound therapy on elephants. And I was like, what the heck, sound therapy? That's weird. But I went and I did that. And so when I realized when we were working with the crystal sound bowls and how calm we could make an elephant who was abused and battered, and how we could calm their nervous system with sound. And they would lie down and then,
wow,
just like, it was magic.
Yeah.
I have a picture up front. You guys can take a picture of me to add there to your report. But I'm working with these elephants, and it was so transformational for me. And I thought on this trip to Thailand I was going to die because my anxiety was so high. But I didn't know at the time that it wasn't necessarily the anxiety. It was, I was feeling so intensely.
Yeah.
And Thailand is such an intense energy place, right? They've got so much going on, lots of vibrations. I mean, they're chanting nonstop. There was so much like stimulus that I was just like overwhelmed. And I felt one night I was like, wow, I'm so overwhelmed. I thought if there was one time that I thought I would die, it was probably there. But it really switched to something inside of me internally to make a transition.
Interesting.
In dealing with the sound. And the calmness that it brought to me when Linda was using these crystal sound bowls to help me deal with whatever was going on in Thailand. So that's how I started to get into this and understanding frequency and sound.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
So that was phase one.
Phase one.
Phase one.
Is that really where like this where we're in now, is that where that started with sound frequency and like healing through energy?
Well, it was first exposure to that world, right?
Yeah.
Like fast forward, going back into my old life again, come back from Thailand, life was still sucking, probably got even worse because my heightened awareness of everything was off the charts.
Yeah.
And so a couple years later, after going through all of that and just really feeling like I had no control over what was going on, I always felt literally like an elephant was on my chest. And if you've had anxiety attacks, you know what that feels like. And so when I was kind of at the depths of despair, I got pregnant, right, when I was almost 40. And then I had a baby, and then I was like, fuck, this is bad. Postpartum depression was really brutal. And I again went into another spiral. And so my brother, out of all people, I don't know if this should be on your interview, but he said, he said, you should do a plant medicine journey with me. And I grew up LDS, Mormon.
Okay.
And so I'd never really, was occasional drinker, like, but being LDS, they have what they call word of wisdom, which you're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So I was pretty good. I wouldn't say that I was a giant star, right? But I was pretty good for most of my life in terms of those things. And so he said, I said, that's drugs. I shouldn't go do that. And he's like, no, it'll be awesome. Like, just do it. And I was like, kind of like, you know what do I got to lose? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I went to go do that. And I would say that was the next phase of transformation, was doing a plant medicine journey. And plant medicine exposes you to so many different subconscious things that you're just not aware of in this rational, like 3D world.
Yeah.
And I started to learn about my gifts, my hands, and my visions. They call me the oracle when I'm on plant medicine. And I started to share things with people that no one else had known about them, or things that were coming into their life that they weren't aware of, or almost in a psychic nature. So my psychic energy kind of kicked into gear, and then I was starting to see spirits and like talk to them, or they come to me at night. And I mean, this was like an ongoing thing for months and months and months and months. And so I started to be like, wow, okay, well, real estate isn't quite as great as I once thought. And I started to care less about the money and more about wellness for myself.
Yeah.
And so I started to switch gears a bit and started to treat myself more lovingly, started to go to like, started to go to yoga. I could never do yoga because my brain was like so high geared that I could never be in my own thought process for an hour.
Yeah.
That was torture, right? Until you learn to slow down the mind and learn how to tame the wild beast, is what I used to say. And be able to sit with your thoughts and started to manifest the things that you really want. So that actually calmed the anxiety for me, was going through all of that. And then I got off all the anxiety medications. I'm not on anything anymore. I barely take a supplement. And then just things started to progress. I'm trying to think of like what else happened. Oh, so I was on a plant medicine journey and I went to Sedona. And Sedona is amazing. Have you guys been to Sedona, Arizona? Okay. Yeah. And the message was I needed to start. I've never actually told this to anybody. The message was you need to start a crystal and rock shop. So I was like, heard. Cool. That sounds fun. How am I going to do that? I have like this really robust real estate company. How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
So I called my friend Linda from the girl from Thailand. And I said, Linda, I need to start a rock shop. And at that time she retired. So she had the time to like help you start the store. And so I said, well, can I go to Tucson, Arizona with you? And Tucson's like the largest gem show like in the planet.
Oh yeah.
And so she took me down there and I said, show me the roads, show me the vendors that I need to meet, like the people who are legit. And so we did. We went down there for 10 days. And I came back with a 27-foot trailer of stones.
Crazy.
And like statues and sound bowls.
Oh, my dream.
Totally. It's like anyone's dream, right? That's like in this world. And I just kept buying and buying and buying. And I couldn't stop myself. Well, previous to that, I bought a commercial space just for real estate. Wild Wisdom Restorative. And Wild Wisdom Restorative, before the store, was just going to be a wellness center only. And then within the wellness center, I decided, well, it would be fun to have a little store. And I was going to call it Arison's Favorites, kind of as a joke, for all my favorite things that I just really like. And then I would sell them. And then... So anyway, I created this space, and then I went down to Tucson, and then I realized that I couldn't fit all the stuff that I bought into this little space. It was 200 square feet that I allocated just to have a little shop. And so we were like, what are we gonna do? So on the way back, just how the universe like presents opportunities when you're moving in the direction. Just as my husband was pulling out of the driveway in the Tucson vacation rental we had for our family, I saw the space come up here, this one. And I was like, oh my God, we found our spot.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him. And I was like, get that U-Haul home as fast as possible. I'm calling, and we're going to back that U-Haul in and go to this particular space. So the space was absolutely perfect. When I flew home from Tucson, I walked in and I was like, I'll take it. Like, wow. This all happened within 24 hours.
That's
so we
crazy.
went from 200 square feet to 3,500 square feet.
Like
big instantly.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Rad got home driving, my husband from Tucson, we backed in the trailer to the alleyway and we just started unloading all the stuff. So then it just became what it is. My manager, Jolene, who's amazing, she's a Reiki instructor and also a previous friend. And she's like, I'll be your manager. So I was like, perfect. Because I couldn't do that without help. And then she knew a lot of the card readers and the other Reiki practitioners because she teaches Reiki. So then immediately we had staff. And then 3 weeks later we opened up.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that's what you're seeing today.
Yeah.
And that was almost 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So then we've just developed it out, and it's changed a lot even over the 2 years. So now we offer classes down here. And I do intuitive readings. I can show you guys the back room. Intuitive readings, I'm what they call a channeler. So I tune in to what the message is, and like the messages, I almost embody the messenger who's ever speaking. It could be a loved one, it could be an animal, it could be an alien, it could be, I don't even know what, I call it Spirit Vegas on the website, but you can look it up. But anyway, so we do Reiki, card readings, and then intuitive readings for myself, and then I do vibrational sound healings in the back room, and then we align chakras in the front room if that's all that you want. And then what else do we do? We have 2 Lemurian crystal light beds, which are right here.
Wow.
So I can show those to you. And what else? Anyway, that's how that went down.
Yeah.
So here we are.
It's a really cool collective. You have a lot of different like stuff going on, which I find unique. Because I feel like some of the people I've interviewed, they're very specialized in one, like tarot or crystals, and it's cool to see it all together.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you. I keep wanting to expand. I want to do massage. I want someone to come down and do palm readings, Akashic Records readings. I mean, every now and then we have guest practitioners that do different things.
Yeah.
But I'd like to keep growing that.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you do intuitive readings. What does a session look like with you, with like a client?
If you're just doing the intuitive reading, I have this big 24-inch bowl I can show you guys. You stand in it, and I hit the bowl from a rhythmic motion. So I go north, south, east, and west. And it vibrates from your feet all the way up, hopefully through your crown. But oftentimes what happens is people have blocks in different areas of their body. And it could be the root chakra, it could be your big toe, it could be that you only feel it in your eyeball. Like it's really interesting where the energy flows. And it's not so important to acknowledge where it goes or where you feel it, it's where you don't feel it is the biggest thing. And so when I hit that, it's not a light hit, it's like a whack and wax. Usually I go around in different, I don't even know, it just depends on what I feel like the person needs. And so it helps to calm their nervous system. And then they're already kind of calming into their body. And oftentimes during that time, they're feeling some sort of emotion, or maybe they're having a vision, or they're maybe just feeling high. Like, you never really know what's going to happen. And so then I call in their angels, their beings, benevolent beings of light, any, spirit guides that'd like to come forward, invite in their higher self. I also do the same for myself. And then invite them into what I call like a round table. Have you ever seen I don't know if you guys are coming from a Christian background, but you know how Jesus and his disciples sat at like a big table? Okay, so that imagery, oftentimes they'll come in and the spirit beings will come in and they'll sit and they'll kind of funnel in. Yeah. And then I'll share with them whom I'm seeing. And sometimes I don't recognize them. Sometimes I'll hear a name that I'm not familiar with. Sometimes there's an archangel or 2 or 3 or 4. Sometimes it's a Buddha. It could be Ganesh. It could be Hindu. It could be lots of different things. It could be your dog. Yeah. It's very interesting. There is no rhyme or reason or prediction of what is going to happen. So that's why I call it Spirit Vegas. Yeah. But also, I call it Spirit Vegas for another reason, too. It's not Vegas like Las Vegas. It's Spirit Vegas, which is the vagus nerve, which with the vibration, it gets into the longest nerve, which goes through the root or through your ear all the way down through your body. So if your vagus nerve, spelled VAGUS, is off, your central nervous system gets a little funky. Interesting. And so when your central nervous system is funky, it doesn't allow your body to heal in its full capacity, right? That's when diseases form, sicknesses, all the other things that are not so pleasant in this earthly realm. Right? So if there's a way to calm that certain central nervous system down so then your whole body can in alignment, then it's easier to heal from different things. And we are our own ultimate healers. We don't have to outsource everything. But oftentimes we're taught that we need like 20 different doctors to heal one thing. When really you might be messing with your root chakra and it has some emotional baggage there. We just got to loosen it up and unlock it. And then before you know it, you're off and running again. Yeah. Right? So it could be very simple. Yeah. And so those are the things that we're trying to get to, is the root cause versus masking the issue, which is what I felt like a lot of the pharmaceutical drugs that I was on or other people are on, is they're masking the issue, not dealing with the issue. And not to say that we don't need them, because that isn't the case. They could be used for temporary time and place to get someone to the next phase of healing. But as a long term, it's no bueno.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole objective, is to help people and bring them back into their own bodies, their own mind, and allow them to feel rather than being numb.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It's called shadow work. It does. It may suck for a while.
Yeah.
But once you deal with it, and then you're helping your family deal with the traumas too. Because sometimes in the family, there's a matriarch or someone in the family that's specifically called to this planet in your starseed family to help you navigate this mortal existence here. And sometimes those are the ones who come down here because I'm feeling all my family shit all the time. And I'm like, and it's like, well, welcome. You are the token child. And this is one of your goals. This is one of your purposes in this life. So during the readings too, I help people. My goal is to help to get to their purpose in life. And it could be singular, or it could be many purposes in their life. And oftentimes the messages will be, your purpose is, or your purposes are. Right?
Interesting.
That will come forward. So a lot of it's intention based. So when I have people doing the readings, I ask them, what is your intention? What would you like to bring forward? Because your higher self wants to communicate with you, but you're not listening.
Yeah.
We're usually not quiet enough to sit in something long enough to hear the message because we're so distracted.
Yeah.
All the time, we're just totally distracted. But I guarantee you, if you sat long enough and you meditated, which is such an amazing part of meditation, is being present, you will get the messages that you need.
Yeah.
If you don't try to filter it.
Yeah.
Most of us will be like, well, that was just a thought. That wasn't really real, right? Have you ever heard that from your parents? You're just a fear. It's not really real, right? Like all those types of messages. But if you actually just sat with it, you internally know what you need. You internally know what your body needs and what it doesn't. And you know when your intuition is right and when it's not.
Yep. Right?
So getting people to pay attention and refocus so they can be more in tune with everything around them is part of my mission. So anyway, so there's the reading part, and I do allow people to record those messages because I won't remember. Yeah. It comes in and then it goes out. Yeah. When I embody it, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just the mouthpiece for the message. And I might remember bits and pieces. Like I had someone in the other day that was like, the message was, I saw like her husband was going to commit suicide. And that one I remembered. Yeah. Right? Like it needed to stay with me because I needed to stay on top of her to do the things to prevent this as an awareness, right? Yeah. So do no harm is like the mission, right? So you don't want to hold back something that could be harmful to somebody. As long as they're validating it, right? And she had concerns about it before, so it wasn't like I was out of left field, but I could see it. Yeah. And so just making sure that her and her family were protected, right? So there are some things that I will remember, and I'll remember with purpose. But let's see. So then I put them on the table for about an hour and a half. It depends on the length of the message and how many questions are asked. And then I do vibrational sound healing. So working with the tuning forks or bowls on the body. I'll play 8 to 12 different instruments during the duration of time together. And that helps to get their body back in its own natural rhythm. Okay. And I'll open up, the chakras that are closed. So we'll do a chakra test, see what I need to work with, what I'm in for the next hour and a half, and trying to put all the parts and pieces back together. Yeah. For the person. And hopefully they're just enjoying it. They're not knowing what I'm really doing. They're just like, hopefully just chilling and enjoying the sounds and the vibration of the bowls.
That's cool. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. I know you said you're from Maine and you moved to Montana. Do you have like a feeling of connection to Montana nature-wise, spiritually-wise?
I've always struggled with Montana, to be honest with you. It's I grew up in Maine. I grew up on an island off the coast of Maine for most of my life. Yeah. So being next to the water has always been really important to me. And here there just isn't really any water. You've got the river, but I'm not really one with the river. I'm more of like ocean lake kind of girl. Yeah. But in terms of its beauty, it's like amazing. When my parents first moved to Montana, I was a junior in high school, and I lived up in Columbia Falls. We lived just below Glacier National Park, so Hungry Horse, and then there's Columbia Falls, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going on playing soccer, and we went to the little town called Ronan, St. Ignatius, which just outside Missoula. And I remember being so overcome with emotion on how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
And how big everything was. And when people talk about big sky country, you don't really get the grandeur, because in the East Coast it's tight and narrow, and you got little houses, and you can't see beyond the trees because they're so thick, right? So it's like the opposite of claustrophobia. It's like the overwhelmingness of the grandeur of Montana.
Yeah.
But what I don't appreciate about Montana is the weather.
Yeah. That is fair.
Being unpredictable. But what I do love about Bozeman is that it's sunny. So even though it's cold, it's at least sunny. Like even today it's cold, but it's at least sunny for most of the time. And that's its saving grace for me. And just Bozeman as a community, I think it's so beautiful. And doing real estate, like you find some hidden treasures, you know, in different towns, and you find like these gems, and you're like, wow, this is really cool. So it's kind of like this love-hate relationship that I've always had.
Which is fair.
But the one thing that's grounded me finally is this storm.
Yeah.
Because every winter I'd want to run for the hills.
Fair.
And not be in Montana.
Yeah.
But this storm, I don't even care. Because when I'm down here, I'm like, how can you not be happy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting switch with that.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Because spiritual practices, I feel like I've definitely noticed an increase in like businesses and people in Montana practicing. But do you still run into any like misconceptions of practice here?
Oh, totally. Oh yeah. People still think it's like wanting to hang the witch, right? Right. We've had people come down here. Where's the witch, right? We're like, which one? Right?
Yep.
Sometimes with that particular scenario, it was a gentleman who like was talking about me as a channeler, right? Where's the witch? But I think if I didn't always understand past lives, and I didn't think that they existed, and now I fully know that they exist, and like most of us that are doing the work now have been in the past, and that's why we're so good at it in this life. And so a lot of people are coming back into remembrance now. It's like this very interesting shift for people remembering who they were and who they are.
Yeah.
And not being so reserved about it. It's like coming out of the closet, but not in the typical coming out of the closet way. You're coming out with your gifts, and like you're coming out with not caring as much about what Joe Blow thinks you are in terms of your witching or your stones or you're a reader, or all the things that they like to put labels on, or you're not my favorite is, well, I'm Christian, I can't be in your store, and you're like, I am too.
Yep.
Right? So you have all these dynamics, and you're like, let's just bridge the gap here, and like we all have a very similar understanding, and the mission is all the same. It's all love. Yeah, right? If you narrow it down, it's all love, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Moses or Abraham or all these other ascended masters that are really incredible beings, right? Whether it's the Egyptian Ra, right? And coming in at different times and places in history to bring, things, making chaos into peace, right? Their missions are different, just like our missions are different in our life.
Yeah.
They just happen to navigate through it faster. So if we could just all navigate it through it faster, we'd all be like ascended masters and be pretty fucking awesome, right? But like that isn't our role, right?
Yeah.
At least yet, anyway.
At least yet.
So I think that is a conversation that's had probably daily on trying to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
And coming from, again, the Christian background, which very much I have a better relationship now with Jesus than I did when I was growing up LDS, and it's called, Latter-day Saints, right? It's a different relationship because it's not forced upon you. It's something that you foster. And you're not told it. It's something that you learn and embrace and love, right?
Yeah.
You feel it. But we're not separate, but we're one. Yeah. There is no difference.
Yeah. I always find that question interesting because I feel like the answer is typically everyone's looking for the same kind of love and support in the world. It's just a different way, slightly, of finding it. Yeah.
Totally.
So this is kind of like my big favorite question to ask. What do you think the core elements of spiritual wellness and healing are?
The core elements? I would say finding presence. finding who you are, and peace. That's all we ever want.
Yeah.
Love, happiness. Finding that, but I think you have to find yourself first before you can be at peace.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. If you don't love yourself, it's hard to love others.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we all kind of go through that in different ages of our life.
Yeah. How do you implement these kinds of beliefs like into your practice, into your sessions with clients?
Well, it's just calling forward whatever their intention is. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them.
Yeah.
And as long as it's like a relatively peaceful mission and not wanting to kill their neighbor, I'm all about it, right? Like, it needs to be like, something positive. And whenever I start readings, I have them either state a positive affirmation about themselves or an intention that they would have for the day or for the time. And so that way it's setting the stage for both of us to bring in that energy.
That makes sense. So when you set intentions for yourself, how do you stay grounded as you like help others, as you work and like grow your business? How do you make sure that you're grounded in yourself?
Well, I have to continue to do the work too.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to lead by example. And sometimes the healers are the worst at healing themselves. And so it's like it takes a really conscious effort because we're so like trying to help or empower others, and like you forget to like, oh wow, I forgot about myself, or because you're going just so fast trying to help everyone else. So for me, it's a really conscious effort. So like every morning I get up and I have a journal. Actually, it's in the kitchen, but it states like all like a series of questions. And, what are my goals for today? What did I accomplish yesterday? What are like 5 things I'm grateful for in today, right? And so going through and making like a really conscious effort to bring those things forward.
Yeah.
And especially if you're giving gratitude begets more gratitude, right? Or more things while living in abundance. So if you're always like saying this is a shitty day and everything's shitty, you're only going to get shitty.
Yep.
Right? But if you're like, I'm grateful for this, 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 and this, it's only going to bring you more of that, or other things. So that's how I stay grounded. My kids help me stay grounded too, because I'm always wanting to be flying around in the clouds, where my kids bring me back to the 3D world, I call it. Like going to, swim practice and all the regular human stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because I can stay really high for a long time. But they bring me back to reality.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and my husband too. He thinks I'm weird in certain things. I'm like, I can't help it. But like, he brings me back to the normal. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna be normal, have a normal conversation, right? That keeps me grounded.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do get kind of bored, but like, I'll do it. I will do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have like a reading or a moment, either in like your experience or with a client you've mentioned kind of previously, but that sticks with you that you always look back on?
I mean, yes, lots of those. I guess it depends on how detailed you want to get into that.
Hey everyone, this story is being shared exclusively on Patreon. If you want to hear more, follow the links below at Oars of the Big Sky for Patreon. Thanks.
And so now Blake helps me with different things, right? But he's no longer stuck. Like, it's fine. I did my thing. Like, I helped him. Like, I made the deal work. Yeah. I was kind of like bargaining with him, right, to get on my body. But he taught me so much about how to do this work, and taught me that interdimensional things when you cross over. Like, there's still some unfinished business, especially the ones that are taken really fast and it's before what they deem as their time. So for a long time, I had people coming that had untimely deaths. Like, I had a lot of musicians that died in the 27 Club, like Kurt Cobain and Morrison. Like, just there was a ton of them. I even had Martin Luther King. Like, there was all these untimely deaths that were coming for a while. And then I was figuring out how to work with them on a different realm and helping them to like sometimes they'd send you on wild goose chases or tell you how they died, which wasn't what the media said. Like, it's been a very interesting ride. So I learned a lot about boundaries.
Yeah.
In the spirit world, like, don't come to me in the middle of the day, right? And then they would all come at night, and you're like, oh, I need to sleep at some point. Like, I can't solve your murder. One was with Jimi Hendrix.
Oh.
Yeah, and he had his girlfriend too that also died at 27. So he was showing me how he died, and then showing me how she died. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like,
yeah,
Kurt Cobain, same thing from Nirvana. Yeah,
yep.
like, I've had the weirdest things happen in the last 4 or 5 years that I should write a book about. But since you asked me, so that's the weird story. But he's the one that really got me into, like, the medium part, and like really showing me what that afterlife is kind of like, and some of their struggles that they go through to move on, and then how to do that. So now I can help other people do that too. So when other people come to me with cool gifts, I'm like, oh, have you tried this?
Yeah.
They're like, no. And then they go do that, and they're like, wow. You know what I mean? Because they can be super helpful to us, and we can be super helpful for them. It's really cool that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, we can be just the messengers for whatever message that they want to share.
Yeah.
And it usually has to do with forgiveness and sharing something with somebody. It's like the universal thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
That was probably not what you asked me.
No, that was.
Okay.
That was cool.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go research Blake Becker.
We will when we get home. Yeah.
And being that you guys are from Helena. But if you know the Baker family or Beckers, like, don't be like, oh, I met the crazy lady.
No, we won't.
Or the girlfriend. I forgot the girlfriend's name. But anyway.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, like, my very last question is, what advice do you have for someone kind of entering their spiritual wellness journey?
I would say, like, to ask again, like, what is your intention? Like, what do you need to work through first? Like, what are the things that are holding you back from living your best life?
Yeah.
Right? And it could be a myriad of different things, but if they can verbally identify, or where are you holding stuckness in your body? That's another question. Like, if I were to ask you today, like, what would you say? Is there some place in your body that you're like, I don't know why this is not working right? Or why is my stomach not feeling good? Or how come I can't speak my truth? Right? Like, what are the things that are hindering you from moving forward in your life? And that's where I think spirituality does, is helping you progress. And it doesn't have to look one way.
Yeah.
It looks so many different ways. And the path to get there is not always the same for every person. And it can be really fun. It can be so fun. Even though it's weird as fuck for a while. It can be, right? But, like, just keep following the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And just, as long as it feels good and it's flowing, you just keep going.
Yeah.
It's really quite easy. We try to make it more complicated than it really is.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
Well, those are all my questions for you.
Okay.
So thanks so much.
You got some weird stuff out of that interview.
No, I loved it. That was awesome.